After a bit of a delay, Lenovo's $499 Phab 2 Pro is finally here, and that means Google's world-sensing Tango technology is here too. Now we're left with a bunch of questions that need answering. Is Project Tango worth using? Well, yes, even though it's far from perfect. After all, reality looks pretty badass when it's augmented. Should the Phab 2 Pro be your new phone? Well, maybe. I wish the first Tango phone had a little more oomph, but there are plenty more reasons why this thing isn't for everyone. Let's get all of the typical phone stuff out of the way first. This phone is huge. There's an enormous 6.4-inch Quad HD IPS screen here, which is nice and crisp even if the colors are a little dull out of the box. You'll find a row of capacitive buttons below that screen, plus a micro USB port for charging and data transfer further down. On the left edge, you'll spot a slot for a SIM and a micro SD card, so you can augment the 64GB of storage the Phab 2 Pro comes with out of the box. So far, so good. The Phab 2 Pro's back is where the magic is, in the form of a 16-megapixel camera, a depth sensor, and a motion camera with a fisheye lens. These three sensors, along with the accelerometer and chipset modifications inside, build the hardware that makes Tango Tango. The phone is much better at figuring out your place in space than any earlier model you might have come across, and Lenovo, Google, and some 30-odd developers have figured out how to turn that spatial awareness into a platform for tools and games. Inside, there's a tweaked Snapdragon 652 chipset modified to keep all of that sweet Tango sensor data in line, along with 4GB of RAM and an Adreno 510 GPU. Over my week of testing, this combination turned out to be a pretty solid one, exhibiting nearly zero lag in day-to-day use. It's just as well, too. If a phone this big couldn't handle my daily routine, I'd have tossed it out a window. That said, you'll definitely see the Phab 2 Pro start to struggle when it comes to playing graphically intense games like Asphalt 8. Make no mistake, this is a historically important device, but you're not exactly getting flagship-level power. More importantly, the power you do get has been more than enough to fuel the Tango apps available right now. In case you're still a little unclear on what Tango does, try this on for size. Tango is meant to blur the boundary between what you see on your phone's screen and what you see around you. To put it even more explicitly, Tango devices can examine the world around them and overlay information or even whole new worlds all over ours. The experiences you can play with right now run the gamut from pragmatic to downright trippy. You can, for instance, measure objects around you without having to break out the tape measure using either the included Google Measure app or something like Lowe's Vision app. Both wind up taking very fast, accurate measurements when the objects in question were fully on screen. But if you try to measure something really long and you have to walk from end to end to capture it all, there's a chance the resulting measurement will be off a little bit. We've seen the Lowe's app before, but it's still really cool to fill up empty rooms with virtual ovens and chairs and crown molding. Still, another app lets you wander around and visualize how strong the Wi-Fi is around you. Keep at it long enough and you're left with a signal strength heat map. These more practical apps have all performed really well, even though there is sometimes a lingering clunkiness to how you interact with virtual objects on screen. And then there are the games, which almost to a T have run very well. That's saying something too. There's a lot of processing going on while you're ogling a life-sized raptor or chasing a ghost through office corridors. Unfortunately, games are where Tango's flaws become the most apparent. Laying down virtual dominoes on a tabletop worked great, but the game had a hard time telling where the slightly reflective surface ended. The end result? Dominoes hanging in mid-air, waiting to be pushed over. What's more, there's a tendency for the things you create, be they trails of dominoes to Hot Wheels racetracks to mid-air measurements, to drift from their original positions a little bit. And sometimes the carefully constructed virtual facades you craft just stop working altogether. I was playing World, for instance, a game designed in part by Katamari Damacy creator Keita Takahashi, not 10 minutes into the game, after plopping a cutesy house on a conference room table and a sun on the ceiling and some sprouts on the carpet floor, performance slowed to the point where World was unplayable. This sort of weak showing was pretty rare, but it killed the illusion of an augmented world almost instantly. At the moment I'm writing this, there are some 35 Tango apps available in the Play Store, and some are just more elegant than others. It's unavoidable, really. This is the first time a company as big as Google has pushed to make augmented reality a real thing for regular people. Interfaces can feel clunky, and spatial recognition doesn't always work right. The list goes on. These are risks that come with working on things that don't really have precedence, and to be frank, I'm willing to forgive a lot of those issues. At this early stage, though, None of the Tango apps available for the Phab 2 Pro feel like killer apps. They're neat, sure, and they'll catch other people's eyes and kill time and help with the occasional home improvement project. But does that mean you need this phone? Probably not. No one needs this phone. For all Lenovo's fine work cramming Tango into a well-built frame, the Phab 2 Pro still feels like a proof of concept, a first step down a long road. If you're a developer or a die-hard nerd who loves life on the bleeding edge, then by all means, go get one. Everyone else should remember that Tango doesn't end with this phone. It's special, it's immersive, and I think it could be crucial to the future of mobile computing. It just needs time. I'm glad the Phab 2 Pro exists, and it's a fine device on its own, but if there was ever a phone that wasn't meant for everyone, this is it. But the next one? Who knows? Maybe that'll be the device that changes everything.